everybody, it's Captain Kyle and I am here with a special video about my 5 favorite G2 Autobots. Yes, G2 is one of those lines that some people like, some people hate, and I have stories and I'll tell them in a bit, but there have been some incredible toys that have come out of the G2 line. And I'm going to show you my top 5, and I'd love to see your top 5 in the comments below. So let's get to it. Well, roll that intro. Be right back. So the first G2 Autobot on my list is probably not a big surprise to a lot of people. It is the Laser Optimus Prime. So Laser Optimus Prime actually won awards as a toy. He was just an incredible version of Optimus Prime that was put out in the G2 line, and he had a sword, he had a trailer, and he was the most posable thing we'd seen like pretty much ever. I mean, there were some other G2s that were kind of posable, but on this scale, an Optimus, wow! And of course, he comes with this trailer, and the trailer is pretty cool. It's got a disc launcher on the top here, and you just turn this dial and boom, there goes a disc. I'm blocking them so they don't hit the ground and get, taken away by the cats. But yes, you could turn that and it would shoot out these little discs that have G2 Autobot symbols on them. So I'm not sure what that's all supposed to mean. And if you're talking about upside down, it is the Car Robots anti-Cybertron symbol. But this is such a great mold. And I have Robots in Disguise Scourge, also known as, I think, Black Convoy. And that's very cool. It's even better in those colors, but he's not in the G2 line, so maybe we'll see him later. And then, of course, there's Laser Ultra Magnus, which I did have for a while, and then that went in the purge. But this here is a genuine G2. It is not the reissue. Actually, you can see his joints are a little looser than they should be, just because he's been around so long. But in addition to this great figure, which I'm going to go over the posability right now, but I do want to point out he's got a laser sword. Now, the button in the back no longer activates the batteries. I tried changing them. The electronics are dead. Unfortunate. But he's also got this gun, which wasn't really meant to be his gun. It was supposed to be something for the base. But let's take out his weapons for a moment. And we've taken a look at him. He's not very kibble. I mean, he's got an entire truck roof on his back, but he's not nearly as kibbly as some Transformers. And posability-wise, I mean, G2, and very easily can do a toes-up full Jean-Claude Van Damme. Now, this was before the age of ankle rockers, ankle swivels, ankle tilts, whatever the fuck you want to call them. And so he doesn't have those, but he can still stand in a pretty wide stance. And of course, he can kick forward. He's not kicking very high. Of course, you can make him kick high if you lean him back a bit. And kicking back isn't all that great either, but he can do a hell of a sidekick. Not the movie sidekicks. That's something totally different. And even though it has nothing to do with the transformation, get this. He can twist at the waist. Look at that. Nothing to do with the transformation, just for the added benefit of posability. Now, the arms kind of can't go all the way around, but they can go pretty far forward and pretty far back. But you can't actually make it go all the way around. Partially, I think, because of the electronics that are running through him. But good posability there. He does bend at the elbow and even swivels. But the swivel actually stops, like right off to the side. It doesn't go any further back. Not like any other Transformers. Even humans can go a little further than that. And his head, of course, can turn all the way around. And you can see he's got light piping that goes through to his eyes, part of his whole laser mystique. But of course, the laser mystique part was the fact that he had a button on his back that activated a light in his fist and would light up his sword. It would also light up his headlights, so it was very cool. Now, there's some definite great engineering in this, though it still had the push it in, pull it out, and, eventually things would wear down and it might start sinking, and he'd have to be like, hey, I got very small legs. But he's still an incredible figure. Now, I want to show you the base, and then we're going to put them back. We're going to put him in his cab boat so you can check that out. But I showed you the Discs of Doom, which I'm taking out for the moment because I don't want him to spill all over the place. I have experience with that, lad. Trust me. But you could basically pop that open, press a button, and make this thing into kind of a base, kind of a, almost kind of like a mobile battle platform type thing. I mean, the way it's set up, you could have these weapons pointing out. You could have Autobots taking cover behind these walls. And he is armed like you wouldn't believe. In addition to the disc launcher, and I'm gonna back that up a little bit so you can see a little bit more. But he's got the disc launcher here. He's got a 5 missile launcher here, and those actually have some force to them. I'm actually surprised because, you know, G2, they are huge missiles. And he's got behind here 6 more missiles so you can reload and not have to go chasing after missiles, or in case you lose some. But this comes down and reveals this nozzle that you put this huge rocket on. This gimmick, I mean, I'm not super fond of. It's a little air bellows missile launching thing. And it works. You can't put it on too tight, but you could basically launch the missile by saying 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gotta really hit it. Okay, they don't make these air bellows the way they used to. Because of the way the table is, I don't want to hit it too hard, and therefore it's not launching. But anyway, the whole thing was you bang down on this friggin' little thing, and the missile would go flying. I was never a big fan of that particular gimmick, and this is not the only figure to have that particular gimmick, but yeah, not something I'd want to use that much. I'd rather just leave it out there like it's a regular cannon, rather than chase missiles or have them played with by certain cats named Sky, who I'm surprised isn't over here yet. You also have this gun thing that you can put on the top here, and you can bend it forward and it's another laser. So lots of armament, and Prime could stand back here and direct things and be like, cover our left flank, come on, move it Autobots. Do you want to live forever? Okay, that's a little bit more, you know, Starship Troopers and Transformers. But it is a cool base. To be honest, I love the figure a lot more than the base, but the base, for what it is pretty cool. And I suppose if you're going to have a trailer, you might as well have it do something. But an incredibly posable figure, and it even has gun storage in the trailer. You might not have known that, but you can hide the gun in here. And there's even weapon storage. So one thing G2 did for us was it gave us stuff like weapon storage, more posability. And without G2, I don't think our Transformers would be as good as they are today. So there's Optimus in his cab mode, there's the trailer. The sword actually goes underneath in the back. You plug it right here, and you have weapon storage. So since he is a truck, let's do it. The roll test. Not bad, especially considering the weight. Better than a lot of the Siege stuff. So that's my number 1, Laser Optimus Prime, and probably the biggest of my 5 favorites. All right, let's put him over here in the truck stop, and let's take a look at number 2. Now this one might surprise you because this particular character was on a lot of people's G1 lists, but the G2 version looks nothing like the G1. I'm talking about Jetfire. He is a Cyberjet. Let's bring it in. So there were 6 Cyberjets, 3 Autobots, 3 Decepticons, 3 different molds, and each side got one of the molds. So Hooligan has the same mold, and I think of the Cyberjets, this is my favorite mold. I mean, he's very cool looking. The transformation is still clever. Yes, he's got half a jet on his back, so yes, it is kibble. But he's got the light piping for the glowing eyes, and his face, his helmet, kind of looks like a Mandalorian. This is the way. He's got one arm that ends in a claw with a giant missile, and the other end, it does have a post for a gun, but there's no gun with this guy. Now, Robot Masters actually had a number of G2s turned and Machine Wars turned into Robot Masters figures, and they actually have like swords and guns and stuff that they can hold. But no such weapon for this Jetfire. But he's a very cool looking robot, very posable. I mean, he can do his full Jean-Claude Van Damme, toes up, though of course the plane on his back makes it kind of difficult. He ends up flopping forward. He's small, like you would consider him like a core class. So no ankle swivels, but plenty of front kicking, really high. Not so much the back kicks, but side kicks are good. No twisting at the waist, but the arms, if it weren't for the whole jet thing in the back, you can kind of still wiggle them around to get them to go all the way around. And the head here, it does turn, not a ton. I mean, I could probably force it to go all the way back, but it's got these things on the side, kind of interfere. I don't want to mess with that. But it's a very sturdy robot, and like I said, he looks pretty cool from all angles, except when he falls down. Well, even that was graceful. So the transformation is pretty simple, but again, pretty clever. Everything kind of plugs in where it needs to plug in. The arm that goes underneath has a little plug that goes into the bottom. This comes around, plugs in nicely. The legs plug in to form these like boosters, jets, whatever underneath. And so it's a very solid jet fighter. Now you can see on the tail fins here, he's got G2 Autobot symbols. He's got little stars and stripe things on his wings, which the wings can actually adjust and come out. Kind of a little homage to the original, but very cool jet. And even has landing gear that comes out, so he can come in for a landing and taxi in, and there he is. And he comes with 3 of these missiles. They're pressure, so you just push and they fire. Honestly, I don't really fire them a lot, but you do have the capability. I'm not sure of the aerodynamics of having this missile on top like that, but you know, I'm no aero engineer, whatever they call them. All right, so that one was number 2. Number 3 is a little bit of a cheat, because in my 5 favorite G1 Autobots, I had Silverbolt. My favorite color happens to be blue. So when you take Silverbolt and you make him into a blue figure, well, how can I not find this one to be a favorite? He's a little garish with the orange, and I always kind of liked the garish colors a little bit. I had a lot of the G2 European and even the G1 European exclusives were very garish. Now, he comes with all the same accessories as the original. I didn't bring out the ramp. I'm not putting him in that stupid mode. I consider it stupid. If you like it, you go for it. You know, they're your toys. But he also comes with these 2 missile launchers, which actually launch pretty powerfully for an American-made toy. And you can hook them in on the side, or you can even use them as additional hand weapons, I believe. I'm wrong. You can only put them in the side here. Might be able to do something with them with Superion. So I use a chest shield from Superion just to make him look more cartoon accurate, though of course the colors now are way off. And his posability is all the same as the G1. So if you have a G1 one of these, you know there's not a lot to it. But very cool figure. Now, I actually have all 5 of the original G2 Aerialbots. However, one of them is not in very good shape. In fact, I have 2 of that particular figure. So I got a bunch of G2 stuff. I didn't discover G2 until years after it came out. When it first came out, I was in a store, I saw one G2 figure. It's a G2 Swindle, and I'm like, this doesn't look as good as the original, which I already have. Why am I gonna get this? So I didn't realize G2, first of all, had some very interesting new molds coming out, like Laser Optimus and Jetfire, but I also didn't realize that they would put out the Aerialbots as well in these kind of coolish colors, so I didn't pursue it until years later. But then I finally started collecting, and then I was so happy when I got all the G2 Aerialbots, and I lovingly merged them into Superion. Once I did that, I'm like, he needs to point his gun forward. So I reached to his right arm, which was slingshot, and I went to turn the arm forward, as I did with the G1 many a time. Slingshot's head broke off. Gold plastic syndrome is real. I was very upset, but I'm like, okay, I didn't really know about gold plastic syndrome at the time. So I was like, okay, this is disappointing, but I have another G2 slingshot. He's actually in the package. I was gonna leave him in the package, but I'm gonna break him out for this. So I broke him out, took him, and I went to transform him, and he crumbled apart in my hands. Very disappointing. I actually have a extra G1 slingshot somewhere that I plan to paint gold, and maybe I'll do that someday, but I never got around to it. But yeah, so gold plastic syndrome is so real and scarring and puts you in therapy. But nonetheless, I have the other Aerialbots, they're all fine. And I do really like Silverbolt. Very cool bluish gray with orange style, you know, jet. I forget what kind of jet it is. I'm sure some of you out there know. Not super fond of the checker stickers across the front. And I have to say, I mean, with Laser Optimus Prime, they put Optimus Prime on his chest, which I thought was cheesy. But that's a minor thing. They also did it with the Aerialbots. He's got Silverbolt on the side of the jet there, on each side, and on the wing. There's something on the wing of the plane. And he's got the number 5 because they were all numbered, so because they figured in the G2 era, kids were too stupid to realize that, you needed 5. And so they gave them a way to make sure they didn't have 2 2s or 2 4s. They just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe it was for counting. The Sesame Street version of the Transformers. I'd like to see Oscar the Grouch meet up with Transformers animated Wreck-Ar. But anyway, he's very cool. Yes, he's got the little posts for that stupid base mode, but he's got landing gear. Very cool jet, flies around. So that is number 3. We'll put him over here. Now number 4 may be a bit of a surprise. Oh, by the way, I do have the Combiner Wars G2 set of Aerialbots. I don't know if you guys want me to review it. If you do, let me know in the comments, and I'll be happy to, but it's pretty much the same as something I already reviewed, which was the knockoff Combiner Wars regular Superion, though it comes with Alpha Bravo. But number 4 is Volt. The laser rods, they weren't perfect toys, but they were pretty cool. They did have electronics like the Laser Optimus Prime. You would press a button here and the engine would light up. And you would also, in robot mode, take out this light, because they were smaller toys, didn't have it built in. And you would actually plug the light into the bottom of the fist holding the sword, press the button, and voila, it would light up. Unfortunately, just like the Laser Optimus Prime, I tried changing the batteries and everything. The electronics in this one are dead. This is not my original. My original went in the Great Purge, so I had to go to eBay, and his sword is like a little fucked up, but he's still a very cool and posable guy. I like Electro too. The only problem with Electro, which actually is one of the reasons I didn't realize the problem with G2 Slingshot. My Electro, even though it was gold plastic, didn't fall apart, or at least didn't fall apart as quickly. But because he has GPS, well, he went in the Great Purge, and I wasn't going to buy another Electro because most of them are broken anyway. But I do like Volt. There were 2 laser rods for the Autobots and 2 for the Decepticons. Interesting how later on they started actually kind of evening off the sides instead of whatever they did with G1. God damn, the Decepticons were very outnumbered. And you may wonder why there's no G2 Dinobots. I mean, I like those. They're definitely very cool. And I had all of them. Some people don't realize they're aware of the blue Grimlock, they're aware of maybe the green Slag and the red Snarl, but there was also a turquoise Grimlock, which a lot of people have heard of. There was also a red Slag and a green Snarl, and there was gray ones of each of them that had the G2 Autobot symbol, which I didn't know about until I had gotten a bunch of toys and I was looking at the Grimlock. I'm like, he's gray, but he's got the G2 Autobot symbol on him. That's weird. And then I found out, and then I ended up getting all the gray ones. So I had 9 G2 Dinobots. 3 of the same, but 3 sets of 3. But I'm not here to talk about that. We're talking about Volt because he is very cool. He can kind of do a full Jean-Claude Van Damme. Now, because of the way they did the joints, and I think this was a time of experimentation for Hasbro with the Transformers, and then they went to college, which was Beast Wars, but, they were experimenting in high school after a solid elementary school education in G1. Yeah, don't read too much into the school thing. But they tried a lot of different methods, and actually his hips and the way they're constructed remind me a bit of some of like the action figures from G.I. Joe and stuff. I think they used some of those principles. But he actually twists at the waist, which is part of the transformation. He bends at the elbow, swivels around. The arms can go all the way around. Of course, doing that took out my little light source, which doesn't work. Anyway, the head could turn around, and like a lot of G2s, it had the light piping in the back to make his eyes glow. But a very cool figure. I liked him, and I liked his posability, and I liked his alt mode. I don't like the fact that he doesn't stand that well, especially on the turntable, but he's still cool. All right, vehicle mode. And again, they were coming up with some interesting transformations during the G2 days, since they weren't going back to the Diaclone stuff and the Microman stuff, which obviously we all love. They were free to come up with new ways of transforming things. And I think some of these were really well thought out, locked together really nicely. May not have been the die-cast stuff that we loved from G1, but they were good. And there he is, and he even has weapon storage. Underneath, you can take this sword. Unfortunately, he's a little bent, so kind of doesn't hold as well, but you could stick the sword underneath, and he would have a little tailpipe. I'm gonna put that aside for the roll test because, again, the tip, it's hard to see, but it's bent and that might interfere. Rolling, he actually sucks. I don't know if it's time. I don't know if I can maybe wrap this wire around better. Maybe that's what's interfering. But while I always berate Hasbro for making a lot of the Siege toys and later toys in the series not as easily to roll in their vehicle modes as a lot of the G1 stuff, to be honest, how much do you roll them around anyway? It's really all about the robot and the character. All right, let's try it with that adjusted. Oh wow, makes a great difference. I apologize for doubting you. You are one hot rod, not hot rod, but you are a hot rod speed racing motherfucker. Very cool. I'd love to see a new Volt in the Legacy line or something. Jolt would be good. Electro, Gold without falling apart. And of course, it was Jolt, Volt, Electro, and I forget the fourth one. Let me know in the comments. I'm sure you guys will look it up. I could look it up too, but who has time to look up things on Google? That's why you ask in comments, right? All right, so that is number 4. And my 5th one happens to be a bit of a repeat. It is the Hero version of Optimus Prime. There was a plan to recolor this guy into Combat Hero Optimus Prime, and it was actually used for a, I think a Scourge version later on, and there was, not sure if there were any more of that, but there was a Scourge and then there was a Bludgeon made from the Hero Megatron tank. But this is the Hero Optimus, and he changes into a truck that's much different than any of the other Optimuses that came previous. There was also a G2 GoBot version of Optimus Prime, little sports car, but had the same colors, but that's about it. And now he's got an arm cannon. He's got a handgun that you can put on the arm cannon or in his other hand, so he can be firing all over the place. Now he comes with missiles. I have them packed away. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of using the air bellow thing, you know, but he can certainly blow you. Oh, that didn't sound right. Shut up, Logan. But he's very cool and very amazingly poseable. Full toes up, Jean-Claude Van Damme. I like it. Of course, he can kick forward. He can kick back a little bit better than Laser. And he can do side kicks all day long. His arms, well, you can definitely put the left one all the way around. The right one is a little more difficult because you have to if you take the bellows off, it goes around no problem. So the bellows here plug right into his back for storage, keeps it out of the way. It's nice, you know, to have that out of the way. So even though I'm not using the air gimmick, I'm not going to take the bellows off. It's part of who he is. I don't want to take that away from him. You know what I mean? So his elbows bend. He's got a swivel and it actually goes all the way around because he doesn't have any electronics to protect. His head turns all the way around and he's got the light piping, as you can see in the back. And even though it doesn't have anything to do with the transformation, he does again twist at the waist. They were thinking about posability back then and experimenting with drugs. Okay, no, with Transformers. Maybe drugs, who knows. But yeah, I really kind of wish, and there's been homages to the coloration of it, but I kind of wish that they did do the Combat Hero version, a more blue version of Optimus Prime would have been cool. But again, he's got Optimus Prime on his chest. Really, guys? Really? Well, a cool figure. Does give you another look before we transform him. Now, the transformation is actually pretty clever in a lot of ways. I mean, this may not have gotten like toy awards like, you know, the stuck-up Laser Optimus over there, but it did a number of really cool things with the transformation. For example, this rotated once his arms were together, and because of where the swivel was, it put it right in the center. So that was very cool, so you don't have it off to one side, as you might expect since it was basically on one arm. And of course, the legs come in, and one thing that they did, instead of just, oh, you bring the legs in, they have little plates in here that you swing out to cover the gap that he needs in order to transform once he's actually transformed. And his other gun goes right on here, so there's nice weapon storage. All right, time for the roll test. And gotta pop his cab together. It seems to be fighting me. There we go. Roll test. I've seen a lot better. Still better than some Siege ones, but there he is in a interesting kind of tractor trailer gun emplacement hauler. And you can, you know, move this while he's in this vehicle mode and he could shoot. And it could elevate a little bit and, well, de-elevate, de-escalate. It could change its attitude slightly. The bellows get in the way. But very cool looking truck, very cool version of Optimus Prime. I could do a roll test with Silverbolt. He does better. Silverbolt as a jet rolls better than this Optimus Prime. Fucking scary. But there you have them, my favorite 5 G2 Autobots. Again, let me know in the comments what your favorites are. And I will put links in the description to some nice eBay listings because, you know, that's pretty much where you have to go for these guys to get them. And again, you know, just find a G1 slingshot, paint them gold, and be done with it. Don't try to ever get an original because it will fall apart. If you get an original, it's going to be super expensive and you don't dare breathe on it. But Silverbolt, it's okay in my book. It even has some armament here. But those are mine. Let me know yours. And while you're mulling over these guys and thinking, man, that Captain Kyle has great taste, or you might not be thinking that, you can check out this video over here, which is my favorite 5 G1 Autobots. And I hope you're enjoying watching these videos as much as I enjoy making them. We will see you next time. As always, have fun and good hunting.